Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, everything really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guests from a lot of really cool TV shows and movies, but more specifically, you can catch them as Icicle and Stargirl, which is on DC Universe and the CW as well. We're with Neil Jackson. Neil, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem. How's the quarantine been for you so far?
It's been all right. Like I was just saying to you, I was just doing a dance workout with my girlfriend the moment before we came on. So I'm looking a little bit sweaty.
But you're ready. You're warmed up. You're ready to go.
I'm warmed up and I'm ready to go. I'm stretched. I'm ready for everything.
Absolutely. So before we get, first of all, congrats on Stargirl, man. I know it hasn't been out that long, but like incredible. It looks so cool, man.
It blows my mind. I mean, like we're over in Atlanta and we're making our little show, and you kind of everybody's banding together, and we believe we're doing something really good. And then it's always a little nerve-wracking when you kind of present this thing that you've created to the world, and sometimes people love it, sometimes people kind of don't, and for multiple reasons, people are just jumping on this one. I mean, we're 93% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment, which is incredible, and it's such a beautiful testament to what Jeff Johns created. I mean, I'm so happy for him because this is such a passion project, as you know. Jeff created this after his sister Courtney died in a plane crash, and this is an homage to her. And so it's such a personal project. So the fact that it's being so well received, it means everything to me.
No, it is incredible. People are tweeting, and you see the passion already. Like, it's one of those things, like, there's already a really passionate, dedicated fan base to Stargirl.
Yeah, it's unreal. We were kind of joking about it, and you never know. But when we were doing it, they've made such incredible costumes. I mean, obviously Stargirl's costume is amazing, but a lot of the villains' costumes, you got Sportsmaster and Brainwave and Tigress, and then Icicle, me, and we got Dragon King that's coming in. They're amazing cosplay outfits, and we were saying, wouldn't it be funny if in all of the comic cons that are coming up, you start to see people wearing these cosplay outfits?
Oh, it's gonna happen.
I believe it's gonna happen because they're so cool.
Well, you're the coolest character.
Hey, it's ridiculous.
No, but even Icicle looks so cool. Like I like so fresh. It just looks amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it was one of those things I'm a little nervous at, and I had a lot of chats with Jeff about when we're doing it. I mean, he called me up in January last year and said they're making a live-action Stargirl. I didn't really know much about the show. The comic book. I knew it was a personal thing to him because I've known Jeff for 15 years. And he then said he wants me to play the main antagonist, who's called Icicle. I was like, that doesn't sound like a particularly intimidating name. Sounds more like a My Little Pony character. And he talked to me about the character, and I was in just from the description. And then he sent me early concept art, and they'd done some early concept art using my face, and it's basically what ended up on screen.
And you're like, I'm in. You probably looked at it, you were like, I'm in.
It just looks amazing. Because I looked on the internet at various iterations of how Icicle had been in the comic books, and there's been a couple of times he's been on TV, and it was always practical makeup and looking kind of like Jack Frost.
Yeah.
But this version, it blew my mind. I mean, seeing it, and then we're finally seeing the final rendered version of how he looks on screen. And I haven't actually seen the transformation yet. We're going to see the transformation coming episode 3, which comes out next week. I'm watching that transformation. I can't wait to see it.
But does it not feel like, from your standpoint, from like you being an actor on the show, like the reception wise, does it not feel like the show's been out for a long time when it really hasn't?
It's been such a slow build, right? I mean, we finished it in beginning of September last year, and then they've been doing press for it really since January. They kind of started little teasers in December, I think. But so it feels like it's been part of the conversation for such a long while, and we've still got 11 episodes to go.
I know, it's crazy. It's a long ride. But I saw recently on your Instagram, you posted like some comic book art about Icicle and like some backstory about that. I saw that recently.
Oh, did I? I'd have to have a look at that one. I put a thing about some of the iterations, and I was talking about how we came to the look of him and what we wanted to do different with this version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
so I'm not crazy. You did post something about that.
No, you did. Sorry, I kind of post stuff and forget about it. But yeah, it was a really fascinating journey for me coming on, because the costume designer Emily. She was the only one that was working on my super suit. They had a super suit team for all the super suits, but she was involved in making mine. And she pulled a lot of great images from the comic books about the way that she thought Icicle could look as nods and homages to him. And we talked about it, and she was like, I'm not wildly excited by any of them, because all of the homages were very... I mean, at one point there was a skin-tight snakeskin tracksuit that was silver. And I was like, why would he change from a bespoke suit to go and fight people in his snakeskin onesie? I was like, so we talked about who he is and what the mission was, and we wanted to... I love the militant angle that Jeff puts into the character, about the fact that basically he uses business diplomacy to try to take care of any of the stuff that he needs to take care of. And when that doesn't work, he steps into Icicle mode, which is the militant arm of him trying to achieve the American dream.
No,
and
absolutely.
So I was like, well, why don't we make him more militant? Why don't we kind of go with that, give combats, give something that has a militant style to it? And we ended up with this look that we all loved.
No, for sure. We got we right off the bat we talked about Stargirl and Icicle, how cool it was right away. So I didn't have a chance to ask you the question I usually kind of lead off with as an icebreaker, no pun intended. But I want to know, because whether you're an actor, whether people write, people direct, people play music, you're all storytellers. So I want to know when did Neil Jackson decide that he wanted to be a storyteller?
It's a good question. I don't think I now regard myself as a storyteller. I used to tell stories when I was a kid. I used to write stories and everything else like that. The cliff notes of my progression to become an actor was I acted in school plays when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and loved that, but never thought that was an avenue that I could go down as a career. I didn't know anybody, either directly or indirectly, who was in the industry. I didn't even really know that there was an industry. I mean, the closest I knew was the amateur dramatics group that used to do plays in the local town library. So I had no idea that there was anything. And so I went to university to study sports. I studied sports science. My sport was boxing. And I still had no idea what I wanted to do. I got a scholarship when I was in university to stay on and do a master's degree in sports, and carried on boxing. And I just reached this point where I was 22 and very unhappy, and my life had gradually moved away from creative. And I suddenly realized that the creative was something I wanted to pursue. So I kind of course corrected and managed to get onto a part-time acting course in London, run by a guy called Michael Armstrong. Did that for 2 years and graduated that 19 years ago. And it was all about acting. I always used to write, but it was all through the prism of, let me write something that will eventually be made that I can act in. And I think the idea of being a storyteller really kind of clicked about a decade ago. Mm-hmm. I felt like I'd been working in the industry for 9 years. I'd done some good stuff. I'd worked with some incredible people. I felt cemented in my place in the industry, and I'd had traction with my writing. And about a decade ago, it all kind of fell into place that was the thing that I loved.
No, absolutely. So I find it interesting then, because you came from a sports background. I find that very interesting. So it must have been cool then to work on a show like Make It or Break It, right? Because it kind of had that gymnastics sports feel, right? Was that sink in? Was that a connection? With your sports background, was it cool to do a show like that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, that show was a gift in so many ways. I mean, I've talked about it before, but I was having a really rough time when Make It or Break It came along. I was in LA. I wasn't booking auditions, at least not with any sort of frequency, and I was struggling. And I started having panic attacks. I'd never had panic attacks before in my life, and the panic attacks were born out of the fact that I felt like I was failing. I felt like my career wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to go. And I couldn't tell anybody because I was so scared that they would judge me. And by voicing it kind of gave credence to the fact that I was failing. And so I started spiraling internally, having these panic attacks, and they got scarier and scarier until eventually I said, I need to kind of tap out. And I came back to Britain And my brother had gone on holiday for 10 days back in the UK. So I stayed at his place for 10 days with my sole purpose to being switch off, not connect to the industry, read some books and kind of figure out what I want to do. But within there was this swirling idea of, am I done in the industry? Is my acting career done? It's not healthy. It's not good for me. And then like 4 days in, I got this call from my agent saying, hey, there's this show called Make It or Break It. They've got this new coach character. I think it was a 3-episode arc that they wanted, just 3 episodes. Do you want to do it? And I was like, no, I'm taking a sabbatical. I need to take some time. They called back the following day and said the creator of the show really wants you to audition. Can you get into London or do an audition or something? And I said, I was just outside of London at the time. This is pre-iPhone, so I didn't have any means of self-taping. So I turned it down again. And then 2 days later, they called and said, so the creator of the show has a friend in London who's a casting director. They have agreed to tape you if you can get into London, and they'll reimburse you for your train ticket. And I was blown away by the fact that somebody actually cared that much about me auditioning at a point where I was genuinely contemplating whether or not I should leave the industry. So I went into London, did this audition, thought nothing about it. And 3 days later, I got a call and said, you booked the job. You start on Monday. I think it was a Thursday or a Friday that I got the call. You booked the job. You start on Monday, and it's 3 episodes. So I turned up thinking it'll be those 3 episodes. It'll give me a little bit of money. Maybe it's kind of kicking the training wheels off again and falling in love with it. And 3 episodes turned into 3 full seasons of Make It or Break It. And that was really my first taste of fame. Because in America, specifically, any girl aged 14 to 16 watched that show. Absolutely. And a lot of people on either side, but it seemed like the demographic, the sort of 14 to 16-year-old demographic, every single girl in America seemed to watch it. And if I went to a Starbucks around 4 p.m. when school's kicked out, it was like the Beatles had just walked in. It was so surreal to me. Oh, really? Yeah, it was surreal. I remember being at Universal Studios with my ex-girlfriend and a couple of friends, and we were lining up for one of the rides. And about 30 people in front of us was this big band of girls, and they all had, maybe 30 of them, and they all had gymnastic tracksuits on. And they were this gymnastics team that had just done a competition in California and were going back to wherever they were. And the show had been out for like half the first season. And one of them recognized me, and this whispers went around, Sacha Beloff, Sacha Beloff, Sacha Beloff. And they all kind of turned around and started freaking out. And it was the first time that had ever happened to me, to the point that it actually scared me. I was like, all right, let's leave the line, we've got to go. And they stopped the ride for me to take photos with all the girls and sign some stuff. And all the other people who were waiting to get in the line are looking, going, who the heck is this dude? But it was surreal to think that many people cared that much about a character that I played on screen.
But you said, so the people that watch Stargirl now that got into it, it'd be a bit different, right? Because like you're Icicle, right? Like you don't really look like you would look like maybe they wouldn't recognize you, but you said there's going to be the transformation. They're going to be able to recognize you.
You do see Jordan McKent. So you see the character that he is before he's Icicle. So they introduced him. There was a little introduction scene in episode 1, and tonight on the CW is his main introduction.
So are you prepared for the storm that is going to come? What's this whole thing? I mean, it's going to be crazy.
I think I'm prepared as you can ever be, right? I mean, it's fame is not the reason that I wanted to do this, and those who deal with fame, I have absolute sympathy and empathy for. It's incredibly flattering when somebody responds to something that you've created to a point that they actually care enough to reach out or to say hi. And I think that now, after 19 years of doing it, I'm about the most prepared I could be. But you're never fully prepared. It's surreal walking down the street and somebody just runs up and stops you, or walking into a bar or walking into a grocery store and somebody comes up. I've had several beautiful ones, though. Make It or Break It specifically. I was doing a Comic-Con back in London about 4 years ago, and
for Make It or Break It. Or?
No, it was actually for Sleepy Hollow.
Okay, yeah.
And I was doing this Comic-Con for Sleepy Hollow. I'm at the table doing some signings, and a girl came to the front, and she was crazy nervous, bless her. And I said, which photo do you want? And I signed the photo for her, and then she disappeared, and she didn't talk to me at all. And I was like, oh, bless her, she was really nervous. The following day, I saw her at the back of the line, and she was lining up again. I was like, oh, sweet, she's here again. That's really sweet. And she got to the front of the line, and she just gave me a postcard, and it had Loki on the front. And she gave me a postcard, and she went away. And I finished the signings, and I looked at the postcard, and on the postcard it said, my parents both died this year, and I live in Hull, which is a nearly 3.5-hour train ride from London. She said the only way I got through the death of my parents was I watched Make It or Break It on repeat, and it was the only thing that got me through it. And she said, when I knew that you were doing this Comic-Con, I had to come down and I needed to see you and just let you know that. Sorry about yesterday. I was so nervous I couldn't speak. So I took the train again from Hull to come down to see you. And I burst into tears reading this thing. Man. And I went out, and I'm really glad that I managed to find her. I went out and kind of hunted through the Comic-Con, massive Comic-Con in London, managed to find her and gave her a hug, and we had a little chat for a little moment. But the idea that this character that Holly Sorensen, the creator of Make It or Break It, created, and the fact that I got to play it meant that much to somebody just kind of breaks my heart in the most beautiful way.
That is, I mean, you can't words can't describe things like that, man.
No, and we often talk about, look, we're not curing cancer or doing anything like that. I don't hold myself on a pedestal at all, but stories have an immense amount of power, and we can all relate to them at different in times, and we all have various different versions of that. Where I know there are TV shows and there are films. When I was a kid, I used to just burn the VHS through because I'd watch it on repeat because it meant so much to me. And those people that were in that and the story that was being told helped me through a moment in my life, all the way through my life. So the fact that I even get to do that for somebody else is just so humbling and incredible.
No, and you know what? It's the same thing you said before. Like, you don't do it for the fame. I mean, I've worked in sports, all my life, and I do it because I love it. You know what I mean? Oh, like, you're storytelling because you love to storytell.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it is, right?
It's one of the most exciting things that I'm a boy from Luton, which is 20 miles north of London, and the fact that I get to be in film and TV shows is crazy to me. And I often joke about it with my brothers, with like, can you believe anybody's putting me in this and anybody's watching it? But getting to be on set and working with a character, mining, trying to figure out how to portray it, working with the director and the screenwriters, working with the other actors, working with the crew and the camera and everything else like that to try to find the best way. I mean, this is the thing with Stargirl. Sometimes on shows, everybody's not completely connected. And the actors might be in it, but the crew are bored and burnt out, or the director's phoning it in or something. Stargirl, and this is me being hyperbolic, Stargirl was one of those shows where everybody was in it, all the way through to the key grip and the gaffer and the carpenters, and everybody was passionate about it. And that stems from Jeff Johns, who was obviously making a passion project, and he was there for 12 hours filming every day. He'd then go home and he'd work on the next scripts. He'd fly to LA from Atlanta working on the edits. He just had this passion that pushed everybody forward. And turning up on set every day, everybody on that set was working their hardest to make sure we told the story in the best possible way. And that creative conundrum is just so fascinating and enjoyable to me.
No, it's amazing. To
make sure that this thing is, at the time when we're creating it, the best version it can possibly be, given the restraints that we've got.
For sure. No, it's crazy. Well, Neil, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat, man.
My pleasure, dude. It's an absolute pleasure. Anytime.
No, for sure. I mean, congrats on Stargirl, like we talked about. I mean, people could obviously, like, they could check out Stargirl now, right? Like, it recently dropped, but the episodes are kind of rolling in now.
Yeah. The first 2 episodes are now available on DC Universe in the States. The second episode is going to drop on CW tonight, and then will be available the next day on the CW app. They're about to announce where it's going to go internationally, so we'll find out.
Yeah, like Canada, Australia. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, for Canada, like, you live in Vancouver right now, like, for Hulu and DC Universe and all these things, like, they're not. There's no Canadian equivalent. You have to kind of search to see where they land, you know?
Yeah, I know it's coming soon, though. I know they're making the deal, so pretty soon we'll get an announcement, and it'll arrive in Canada and the UK and everywhere else, so I'm excited for that.
It's crazy time for TV right now, though, eh? Like, look at how many amazing shows there are right now.
It's insane. I mean, it's like when when I moved to the States 15 years ago, you didn't really want to be in TV. And no
Had like a
disrespect
stigma.
intended.
Did it have a stigma attached to
Yeah,
it?
TV was either the stepping stone you used to get into features, or it was where you landed when your features career ended. It was kind of like this poor cousin. And around about the time, it was shows like 24 and Sopranos. They changed the game because the writing was
Do you
so
remember
good.
6 Feet Under?
Yeah, 6 Feet Under was incredible.
Yeah.
It was around that. So all of a sudden, people kind of pricked their ears up. And now you look at it and what Netflix are doing, what Amazon are doing, what Hulu are doing, and all of the networks, BBC are doing. I mean, it's like Peaky Blinders. All these different shows are just incredible. And
it's nuts.
It's such a privilege to be in this particular time.
It's like the last 5 years have been kind of like the golden age of television a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Stargirl's a good example. Stargirl, we shot Stargirl for more money than I have made a lot of films for. And that was the pilot episode. The pilot episode was worth more money than I've shot most feature films for that I've done on my career. I worked with Woody Allen a few years ago, and Woody Allen shot his feature film for $3 million. And Stargirl's pilot, at least the reported amount that I heard, was 5 times the amount of that film. And so all of that's on screen with the CG, with the writing, with the sets, the locations that they got. I mean, it's like we're making mini films now.
And I do want to say it is so awesome. I was going to say cool, but enough of that. But it's so awesome.
It's so many, I can't say chill. I can't say cool. It's some words you can't say.
It's wicked to see Luke Wilson in this, man.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it awesome to see him in something like this?
He's so good. He's so good in it. I mean, it's just that he's the perfect Pat Dugan. I mean, Jeff Johns wrote the character for him.
I read an article with him though saying that he's been in this game for like 25 years and he's never done anything like this before, and it's just like you wouldn't think of him being in like a superhero movie or show. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's awesome. He fits so well in it, man.
Yeah, everybody does. I mean, watching the show, I'm really getting a sense because I didn't work a lot with a lot of the kids that were in the show because I'm in the kind of adult side of it with Icicle and his dastardly crew.
You're a bad guy,
right? Yeah.
Super villain.
Amy Smart is amazing. Breck she's a perfect Stargirl. She's just this little ray of light that leaps off screen. She's adorable. So
Amy Smart is in one of my favorite movies of all time. Have you seen Just Friends with her and Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
I love that movie so much. That movie is the best.
It's a great one.
It's a Christmas movie too. People don't forget, but like that, I love that movie. That movie's so good.
That's awesome.
No,
yeah, I mean, these people, Luke and Amy, were people that I've watched in films through years, and getting to be on set with them and share scenes with them is amazing.
She was also in Road Trip. Amy Smart's been in like some of my favorite movies.
Her career's amazing. I mean, but he was
old school.
Luke's career. I mean, old school, and I love the Skeleton Twins. If you haven't seen that film,
of course.
I think Skeleton Twins is hilarious and heartbreaking.
I interviewed Rhoda Mitchell. She was in a movie with him. Henry Poole is Here. Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah, I got a funny story about Henry Paul is Here. Years ago, when I was writing music in LA with a friend of mine, and there was a competition to write the theme tune for Henry Paul is Here. So me and a friend got together and we wrote this theme tune. It was a really cool, banging sort of rock song, and we sent it in, and we got notified that we're in the final 3 for it. And we ended up not winning. The winner was going to get the theme tune and was going to be in the film.
So close, eh?
And so I saw Luke when I saw Luke on set, and I was like, I nearly wrote your theme tune, bud.
That's so cool, though. The thing about that, no, it's
so surreal, right?
It's crazy. But where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
The Neil Jackson. So that's on Twitter and Instagram. So the Neil Jackson, and you can find me there.
Well, it was great chatting with you, man. Thank you so
my
much.
pleasure, dude. Thanks so much for the time.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Be sure to watch Neil Jackson as Icicle in Stargirl, which can be seen on DC Universe and the CW. And until next time, this is Neil Jackson and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.